When we were in the minefield on the long high hills where one of our assault pioneers stood on a mine, lost his left leg below the knee, his right leg above the knee and his right arm, and we needed a helicopter to take him out. My platoon was in a static position with the rest of the company moving to their location and called in for a helicopter support and was quizzed by the Australian officer at the end of the radio. Is your area secure? Have you a glide path for the helicopter? And when he let go of the pressure switch, an American voice came up and said, we'll come in and do it for you. And then he came, and very perilous it was, but as far as he was concerned, that was the mission, and Dave Mackenzie survived because of that. The minefield was in the long high hills, which were south-west of the task force position, northeast of Saigon. And it was on the coast, and it was a rear services area, and the enemy had used it since they were fighting the French. The enemy at that stage, most of the activity was in an area called the Long Green, which was to the east of the Long High Hills, and the task force commander decided that if you put a barrier minefield of M16 mines along, you could then interdict the enemy's movement into the Long High Hills, deny him provisions from the Long High Hills, and therefore shorten the war. And so a minefield was put in. I'm told that the task force commander had said to one of the other commanding officers, you're going to the Long High Hills, and he said, oh no, I'm not. I am not taking my soldiers into a minefield. And anyway, our commanding officer was obviously, anyway, for some reason we went. We spent the first couple of days on the paddy flats. The next day, C Company assaulted the prime position, and then the next day we flew into the area that C Company had into their helipad, and they had cleared a strip. Their engineers and assault pioneers had cleared a metre-wide strip for us to move down to our position. The minefield was made with M16 mines. An M16 mine was the current version of the German S mine, S for shrapnel, which was a feature of World War I. And the aim of the mine was to be planted in front of a defensive position. And if you stood on the mine, there were three prongs, and if you stood on the mine, it detonated a primary charge which pushed the mine out to waist height, and then the secondary explosion killed or wounded. And it was designed to emasculate men. That's what it was designed to do. So that if you were attacked in as they did in World War I, and you saw the bloke 20 metres in front of you stand on a mine and get blown in half, you'd slow down. And if you slowed down, you were an easier target. And that's why you put mines out in front of defensive positions. And these M16 mines were laid by engineers the way engineers laid mines. The section commander would take 4 paces and put his hand out there, and a mine was put there. He'd take another 4 paces and hold his hand out, and a mine was put there. Sitting on the top of the houses at Dat Do, which was the village, were the local VC, and they watched all of this happen. There were VC in every village. They started to lift the mines, and very successfully after they lost a lot of people learning the technique. Comrade, whatever it is, I've read the story. He was the one who knew that if you went down, you could then put a pin in and make it safe and dig the thing out. And then what they did with those mines was put them into the Long High Hills, so that if you went to the Long High Hills, you faced standing on these mines. Prior to C Company assaulting the position, it was decided that there was artillery fired in order to kill as many enemy as possible and to interdict their ability to move around. A tactical B-52 strike was offered and gratefully accepted by the task force commander. We were told to move back 300 metres, which we did. We all moved back, and they bombed this. And a B-52 strike, you sit it on the right hand of God the Father Almighty. Yeah, when you see this all of a sudden, the entire hill erupts. So you could see these tiny silver specks in the sky, and rain down 250 and 500 pound bombs. The problem with doing it is that each bomb breaks into several pieces, thousands and thousands of pieces. You find a mine by using a mine detector, which finds metal, and that tells you where the mine is. But there's also tens of thousands of pieces of metal, which makes that job harder. The essence of moving through a minefield is that an engineer, and we had engineers or assault pioneers, and we had assault pioneers from our battalion there, would go on with a mine detector, and either side a grey plastic tape would be put down and pegged down, and you knew therefore what was in there was decreed to be safer mines. It took forever. We flew in as a company, and there we were, 100 of us, in a conga line behind two engineers who were doing their thing, and we were in line for 4 or 5 hours. Anyway, at the appropriate time, we arrived at an area, and the company commander said, right, this is your area, you peel off here, do your thing, set up, clear the areas, so additional pioneers and engineers came and scanned the area where we were. And the essence was you either put pins in and secured the mine. The enemy learnt from us when they started to lift the mines. Well, what you then do is you put a grenade under the mine, put the mine on, pull the pin of the grenade, they lift the mine, and the grenade goes off and kills the person who's been clever enough to lift the mine. That only works 2 or 3 times, and then they wake up, and they then learnt and did the same. Where there, my platoon is down checking the area, allocating areas, tasks for each of the sections, and away went the rest of the company behind the pioneers. There's never once were the engineers told to hurry up, because you can't hurry up a process like this. But the self-imposed requirement to get done what needed to be done was on each of the blokes doing it, the mine detecting. And Dave Mackenzie took a reading, a scan, and there was a beep. Got his bayonet out, probed, found nothing. Cleared some of the top of it, took a reading with a mine detector, another. Cleaned it again, probed, cleaned it, no, and well, he thought it's probably a shard of one of the bombs that's gone in there, and all I'm getting is the pointy end, which I'm not getting with the bayonet, and I could be here all day and find nothing. So he put the soil back, and then thought to himself, I'm declaring this safe. I should stand on that just to make sure, and he did, and up he went, and got him to hospital. The story I told you earlier, got the helicopter come in. The Americans took him to Vungtown, to where the One Ausfield Hospital was. Woke up from the surgery, locked his left leg above the knee and his below the knee and his right leg above the knee. Came out of the anaesthetic and said to the doctor, "What have I got left?" And the doctor said, "Not much, son." He said, take, I don't want these tubes. I'm not going to live like this. Anyway, no, they persevered with him, and there was a smell of gangrene. Just so they opened both of the wounds, and it wasn't anywhere there. What had happened when he stood on the mine, a shard had gone up into his armpit, and because that was what they were looking at, and he was lying like that, no one looked at it, and he lost his arm as well, lost the shoulder as well. And of course, he became even more depressed. They brought his mother up from Australia to be with him and to be some comfort to him. There was an Australian RMC graduate, Australian in Korea, platoon commander who stood in the mine, a mortar, lost both legs. Anyway, this bloke walked into Dave's ward one day and said, "So what's your problem, son?" And Dave threw the sheets back and said, "You can see the fucking problem, can't you?" And with that, this bloke sat on the bed, undid his trousers, took off this prosthetic leg, said, "Now what's your problem?" And Dave came round. Flown home at the appropriate time when he was well enough to fly, and 6 weeks later sent a photo back of him having got his driver's licence. Lovely man. I'd call the helicopter in. He knew that, and we used to have a beer every Anzac Day. I rang him one year and said he used to go to the East Malvern RSL sub-branch. I said, meet you and I'll buy you a beer. And he said, I can't do it this year, mate. He said, I've got 3 kinds of cancer and I probably won't be alive then. And if anyone didn't deserve to die of 3 kinds of cancer, it was Dave Mackenzie. Very successful businessman, a couple of kids, had a couple of sons. He used to export meat to America. Lovely, lovely man. We had 6 blokes killed in the company. Tom de Vries van Leeuwen was the first to be killed. He was at Fire Support Base Anderson. We were mortared and experienced a ground attack twice at Fire Support Base Anderson, immediately after Berea. He was a nice young bloke. We lost another young man, and I won't mention his name. An artillery round landed in our company position one day on patrol and killed him and wounded 2 others. And that was completely unexpected, and no one knows where it came from. And we had Kiwi guns supporting it. Well, it was them. Well, no, it wasn't, because everyone carries a log. And we lost Billy Thomas and Coop at Coralend on Mulderall. And the last fight we had, we lost Ian Thompson and Paul Van Ryswick. Again, RPGs. The last fight we had lasted 4 hours. We need to remember them. The platoon, we had a 36% casualty rate. We lost 4 killed and 19 wounded, and we had 60 go through the platoon.
They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.